Welcome back to the Windsurfer Mag studio. This week we are taking a look at the 2026 Tabou Da Curve, and we've got the 88 litre with us here. So Trish is going to kick us off. What have we got here? What is the board about?
So the Da Curve is basically Tabou's like signature waveboard from Thomas Traversa. So it's the model that's designed ideally for down the line conditions, but it's designed to excel in all-round real-world messy conditions as well. It's with regards to the shape. You know, again, they've had quite a sort of a following over the years. But this one has been. I think it was introduced last year. The Rangers came in last year in 25.
Came in the previous year, so it would be 2024. Yeah.
Okay, so it came in 24. So this is the sort of third iteration of it. And the thing that really struck out, I remember Ross being really excited about it because they'd looked at refining the tail shape of the board. So it had a rounded pin tail and really kind of tapered the rails down in the tail section of the board. So that was kind of the big sort of telltale sign that there was a new shape. There's a little bit more parallel sort of in the midsection, again, to kind of hold its sort of balance and stability in those sort of in more varied conditions. But also, I suppose this one in itself came with the K4 fins. So that's a new introduction for the last couple of years, I think. They've really pushed the K4 fins. And then 5 fin boxes. So again, kind of provides that extra bit of versatility if they're going to change it to according to sort of riders' desires and conditions that they're going to.
And it comes as standard as a thruster fin setup as well. So obviously, as it comes out of the box, you can try it in a thruster, and then further down the line, if you want to change it up or you prefer the quad riding setup, that's then when you change it over, and it comes with all the blankers as well. So you know, it's a complete thing there.
So the 88. That's the middle of the range, really, isn't it? So you've got 6 sizes. Do you want to go through
6 sizes? So you start, I think it's down to a 69, you've got a 76, 82, 88, 96, and then a 106. So yeah, the 82 and the 88 are sort of slap bang in the middle. I mean, for most riders, the 88 is probably either their sort of go-to board or probably their middle to sort of strong riding, unless you're someone like Thomas who
quite like.
It's built pretty small, but it can make anything work, which is really cool. Cool. So those are the 6 different sizes that we're getting in the Da Curve. The 88, for example, this one is 226 centimeters long by 58 centimeters. So relatively standard. We've got a few bigger, with more width on the other boards in test. But again, until we get on the water, we can really take sort of a verdict on that. And we know from some other boards we've tested that are narrower, they are feeling a little bit smaller underfoot. However, visually, just to look at the board, it is got quite a chunky sort of midsection to the deck.
And you know, the 1 foot off is nothing out of the ordinary either, so pretty standard.
Which is, so it'd be interesting once we get it on the water. I think that's pretty much sort of visually and what Tabou sort of claim about the board. Maybe we'll take a quick look at the sort of tech features that you know, Fabian has put into the board when he was shaping it. Obviously, we mentioned it's Thomas Traversa's pro model. So you know, a lot of you guys probably have seen him out on YouTube and Instagram. He's always riding sort of custom boards, but now he seems to be stuck onto these, which is pretty cool. And
I think him and Fabian were real advocates for the K4 fins as well. I think they really pushed it quite hard to get them into their boards. They really felt that it complemented what the boards were available.
You get tons of performance from them, and actually comparing it to a G10 or a carbon fin, you've got a little bit more longevity in the fin if you do hit the reef or the rocks, as we tend to do quite a bit. I mean, I won't go into that too much, but you know, I think that's a nice addition to the range, and that's current in the bomb as well. So they're more cross-on board, which is cool. We've had a look at the underside of the board, which was a little bit interesting to say the least.
Yeah, it's quite eye-opening actually, isn't it? So
with a lot of boards that we see, they normally have sort of V and a double concave. Actually, Fabian and Thomas have gone for something completely different, and they've got a mono concave running all the way from the nose down to the tail.
And there's no change either. You know, like normally you could get like a little bit of a compromise or like a hybrid, so that you go from mono into like a wash of double or maybe some sort of V coming through. But this is mono throughout, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and getting a bit more exaggerated in the tail. So I think for us and from the other boards we tested, it's going to be really interesting to see how this board actually reacts on the water. yeah, that's definitely something that's going to be the first thing we sort of look at of getting it on the water.
Fittings?
Yeah, so Tabou have obviously their standard straps. They are a little bit softer than others that we've tested before. Again, something to try on the water. There could be a good reason for that, which will be interesting. You've got the double EVA density pads.
So dual density deck pads, you can see they're really elevated, so they're really thick. I think they say they're 10 mil thick, so
which is
really cushiony.
So hopefully a comfy ride, which would be nice. They use the Phillips head screw-in head, so same for the valve, the screws and the fins. Some brands use Torx, as we've seen, but Tabou are still sticking with these. Single plugs on the front foot straps, and it's double plugged on the rear foot strap, and I think you've got up to sort of 6 options in the insert in the board, so actually there's a lot of movement there. You've got like a wide stance, narrower stance, further to the back you've got a lot of options there, which is cool.
And then it's in the team construction only, so basically this is their Carbon Negra, sort of the premium construction. Got the Tiki Man back, or it's not Tiki Man.
I think most of us know what it might be called, but I mean, my mum wasn't too impressed, but I think it's cool.
Well, it grabs the attention, that's for sure. And then again, it's really very obvious that they've tried to minimise the amount of weight in it, as all brands are. So they're really trying to optimise that strength to weight ratio.
And as you said, it's got the K4s, and pretty much that kind of wraps it up. The 5 fin boxes are cool. You've got a lot of adjustments sort of forward and aft in them, which is something for us to play around with when we're on the water. Rails, they're pretty sort of standard from sort of for what you see in Tabou. They're normally quite
tapered quite nicely in the tail. So definitely kind of, with regards to the actual the outline, it's all coming down towards the pintail. There's definitely still some width and a bit more parallel in here, but then the rails, the dome of the deck is really nice, and it's tapered down to the rails.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, that kind of wraps up what we've got here. We're going to get on the water. We've got quite a few trips sort of planned in the calendar to go out and try it. We want to try it in down the line. We want to try it in sort of cross-on mushy stuff and really get a feeling for what the board can do. And I know that the guys have sent over a couple of bigger sizes as well, so we'll probably try those in comparison. But for this video, the 88 is our key board to try. So with that said, we'll go and get on the water. We'll come back in a few days, maybe a week, depending on what the conditions are like, and we will give you a download on what the Da Curve was like. Well, what a couple of weeks we've just had testing the Da Curve. We've been various spots around the UK, as you will have seen from the other videos with the other boards. It's been a good time. It's been really nice. We're seeing guys that are already starting to watch the videos, which is cool. They're super interested in seeing what we're testing next, and even getting involved and getting their thoughts on it, which has been...
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of actually doing the tests online the way we're doing them, is it gives us the opportunity to be more reactive. So kind of almost the feedback from the viewers to say, what about trying this and trying that, but also being down and getting real world experience and feedback from them is really
guys,
useful.
The local guys, they know the place is best, and they've always got advice and tips on how they set up their kit, which has been which has been cool. And it's going to move us nicely on now to actually how the Da Curve was performing. And I think Tris, if you start us off on this one.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so I mean, first and foremost, it says 88, and it definitely felt like an 88 litre board.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of volume, plenty of stability there. Good float and ride, but actually really kind of released nice and early, and it just felt like it could take exactly the right sails that you'd expect an 88 litre board to take.
Yeah.
The dome deck and the tail, felt really comfortable.
Yeah.
But I suppose my big take home was that, with the thick dual density deck pads and the really soft foot straps, and they are really soft, it almost felt like there's like a cushioned ride.
Yeah.
It's like a magic sort of
Magic
carpet, really. And it sort of hovered almost. It just released so effortlessly and smoothly that you're like, that transition from not planing to planing was so sort of smooth, and it didn't really sort of take you by surprise at all.
Yeah.
I'd say the other thing is, going from rail to rail, the way it rolled into the turns was really, like a surfboard basically, as you'd expect. And it's almost as close to going strapless as you can do. I mean, the day in Ross Niger we had, I was absolutely stacked on a 4.2. And this board was kind of felt as close to sort of surfing in that day. You almost felt you didn't want to jump, you just wanted to surf the whole time.
Just ride. And, I think that's a big thing behind Thomas Traversa as well, and you can see that sort of transition. He's very surf oriented, and it definitely took me a couple of runs to get sort of dialed into that. I think if you're chopping between lots of different boards, you're kind of used to sort of transitioning between sort of rail and riding, driving through your back foot. And the first few waves I felt a little bit out of place. And then as soon as I sort of dialed into, actually it is just rail to rail, you almost forget about the sail. Yeah. Then the board really comes into its own.
Absolutely.
You get these big sort of
you really kind of feel the rails, don't you? So without feeling loads of feedback through the top of your foot, you're almost using your toes and feeling the rails the whole time.
Exactly. It's all driving through heel and toe edge, which is definitely a really nice sort of takeaway from that. And even in sort of the waves that weren't amazing, you still had that feeling, and it sort of cut through the chop on the wave face really nicely as well. There wasn't that sort of bouncy.
Which again, for a monoconcave, normally you'd feel like a monoconcave, when the chips are down, when it's like fully nuking weather, you'd be like, okay, I'm going to have some control issues. But it just felt really sort of tempered the whole way.
It was amazing actually for that monoconcave shape. The way it performed on the water, the way it released, and the way it almost sort of elevated into that sort of planing position. And the less you sort of tried to force it with the sail, the more you just rode it like a surfboard. It just worked so well.
The straps, I remember you mentioning, it feel quite well spaced and wide apart. I suppose, with the front straps, they are sort of single screw, but you've got 6 different placements, so actually that's quite a good selling point, that you can really vary the distance of your stance according to your riders, your own sort of feeling and your own impression. So
you could have a 200 centimetre giant on there, and you can go wide enough to just get on there.
That's it.
Which is cool. But it's definitely a different board to what we were expecting, I think was the key thing. But how well it sort of is manageable on the wave, that surfy feeling, that sort of effortless, you sort of almost quite drawn back, just, it's all about surfing the wave. It massively done it. It still jumped well, it still got loads of speed. So, it did work on all round really well. It'd be interesting for us to try the bomb, and we do actually have one, so there will be another video on that. And sort of comparing the two, seeing which ones excels in certain conditions. But for the Da Curve itself, it's a wave riding machine, and that's definitely something not to be laughed at.
We had it down in Gwythian, and it was very offshore, so pretty difficult, quite technical to kind of get out the back, and it obviously perfectly at home. And then we took it to Ross Niger, where it was cross on, like the wind was in, and it actually felt perfectly at home as well. You could dial it in. We haven't tried it as a quad so much. We've mostly stuck with the fins that have been provided, so more as a thruster. But again, I suppose that provides the versatility, and definitely, we've got the board for a little bit longer. Maybe try it as a quad as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other interesting thing that I found was we've tried it on quite a few different sails. You know, some are a little bit more backhanded than others, and the more neutral sails in the hands, ones that don't require too much sort of front hand and backhand pressure, they suited this board really well.
Yeah.
So you've looked at the sort of the Goya Banzai Surf, for example, that did suit the board really well, along with the Manic, obviously, that Thomas would have helped develop with Peter. So, you know, that's your board. If you're looking for sort of surfing, real sort of raw feeling on it, and just a board that you don't have to worry about what you're doing with the sail, this definitely sits that.
Yeah, proper strapless surfing.
Yeah, which is cool. And, you know, you look at Thomas and the way he rides, and you can see how he's able to do that with that board.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall very impressed. We will keep on trying it just in case there's a few more bits we want to add. But other than that, that's your 2026 Tabou Da Curve 88. And if you've got any questions, don't forget to leave them down below. Drop us a like, give us a follow, subscribe to our channel, all those good things, and we will see you in the next one.